Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Just got back from the gym, sat down, opened up a Jack Frags video that had a pretty interesting title. In the first minute or so of this video, honestly kind of blew my mind because I had no such thing existed for Battlefield 6. And I wanted to watch a little bit of this video, break it down with you guys, and then go in game and see exactly how things function hands-on right away, right? So that said, this is a new video from Jack Frags that was posted titled Battlefield 6 has a huge secret. And I had no idea what this was going to be about based off the title and the thumbnail.
So today,
and Jack Frags is here. We'll turn it up a little bit.
6 that not many people know. Maybe
I was one of these guys.
This, or it's not
I had no
knowledge.
idea.
And some people know about it, but they don't really talk about it or let you know about it. And I'm going to show you what it is and prove that it's real. So at the moment, I'm playing on PC. And I have a PlayStation 5 controller plugged in.
And that's normally how I play, for what it's worth. I am Battlefield way more than Call of Duty. I do play a hybrid. I switch back and forth between controller and keyboard and mouse a lot. I think Battlefield feels a lot better on keys than Call of Duty does, where obviously you're going up against very powerful aim assist. But I've always been a controller on PC player for COD and Battlefield for some time now, primarily. And so this is just how I assumed it worked. Straightforward, straight up, right? As we'll see.
All I'm going to do is pick a spot on the wall. We'll line up with this detail line here. And I'm just going to hold right trigger.
And I thought this was going to be about predictive recoil or something, right?
The spread, the recoil.
As you can see, there's a fair bit of recoil, right?
I've switched to mouse. So in this game, you don't need to quit to switch between mouse and keyboard. Which
is actually super convenient. I love that. If midway through a game, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of playing on keys. I'm getting thrashed. I'm going back to controller. I can instantly do so, and it's no problem, right? Or vice versa. I do think that's really cool. Call of Duty doesn't let you do that, but here's where things get interesting.
I'll strafe along to the right a bit.
We've got our controller recoil pattern.
And we're going to do the same thing. Let's see what happens.
And then we've got our keyboard and mouse recoil. Which is completely different here. The controller recoil, it's got a lot of spread on this particular gun, right? But it's got its own pattern. And the keyboard and mouse has an entirely different recoil pattern with different spread and bounce in between it too. And I first watched this initial clip the minute, you know, that we're into this video, and I was like, okay, but what if that's just different recoil patterns doing that, right? Like every time you shoot the gun, it's not necessarily going to be one-to-one. It doesn't have that straight up predictive recoil to my knowledge. But he's got more examples.
We're going to pick a different gun. Do it again. Okay.
So he's already answered my question. My initial thing was like, okay, well, what if that's the recoil just being different on the gun?
Could I actually...
But we can test it now with a different gun. And if we get the same result, then you're starting to see the trend here. So that's controller, as he said.
Full mag, 40 rounds. And then I'm going to strafe.
You see the recoil pattern?
The mouse. Just switch to the mouse. If you look at the user interface, it's changed.
Entirely different recoil pattern.
You actually get less recoil when you use a controller in this game,
which I had no idea was a thing. Now, like I said, I play controller by default, so I guess I've been accidentally benefiting from this in my gameplay. I'm talking to some of my buddies in the Discord call when we're playing, like, yeah, no, this gun is honestly pretty easy to use. I got a couple of attachments on it, and they're like, yeah, no, I don't like how that gun feels in there on keyboard and mouse. It all makes so much more sense to me now. But now that we've seen this from Jack Frags, I do want to jump in game and actually test around and mess around with some builds myself. Keyboard and mouse versus controller, and look at the recoil spreads. So I've got a loadout here, for instance, with the M417A2. Let's go in the firing range for this just outright and see if I can just shoot into a wall and get a recoil pattern here. Do the bullets actually recognize? Okay, yeah, so they recognize on this. I'm on controller right now, PlayStation 5 controller. So again, we'll use our M4 here. We'll spray the recoil pattern. See exactly what it is. We can see the full plot. This is a recoil based build here as well, for what it's worth, but we see it goes basically straight up there. Now if I switch over to keyboard and mouse here, back up, and I do the same thing again, not controlling the recoil pattern, it's a very different pattern. It's so much tighter with controller on the left, but I do want to test again controller, not messing with anything here, just straight up shooting. You can see it's not a one-to-one pattern every time you shoot it on controller. If I were to do 3 plots here, you'll see it's going to be relatively different there as I go through. So like the first one a little bit more you know, condensed in the middle, this one sprayed out a lot in the top left, this one a little bit more in the middle. So there is not necessarily predictive recoil in terms of a little bit of spray and bounce here and there. Obviously there's some bloom mixed in as well. You can see it's the same general pattern going up and to the right ever so slightly on this gun in specific, but that is absolutely a different recoil pattern than if I were to go over on keys here again and I just do the straight recoil pattern, not really controlling anything. All right, a little bit more similar to that of that first pattern, and then I do a third one here as well, not controlling anything. Still up and to the right. Both patterns are up and to the right, but you can see there is actually a noticeable difference here in the recoil pattern. This one seems a little bit tighter through the first few bullets, not as much towards the end. This pattern though is just smaller. There's not as much of a vertical pattern here on controller, which is kind of crazy. So that means when you're going through and you're playing right now on either input, your experience is going to be different. Keep in mind, controller already has aim assist available as well as you're going through and messing around with that, so you'll have that slight help, but controller also noticeably has less recoil here. So what Jack was talking about there is accurate, and I've tested now firsthand with the same gun, because like I said, even though he went through and showed, okay, this is different on controller, this is different on keys, and then went through with different guns, I did want to see how different it would be when you fire the same gun multiple times, just to see if that was maybe just a super bizarre instance of the pattern being a little bit different, the spread being a little bit different, because it's not going to be 1-to-1 every time you shoot. But I mean, that is a noticeable difference. That is a noticeable change per input there. So hey, if you're playing on controller, technically you've now got another advantage to you here in game. And the reason I feel like they probably do this is that when you have a more sporadic recoil pattern, especially one that's horizontal recoil in and of itself is already decently difficult to control and predict. Vertical is much easier since you're just basically pulling back, right? But on controller, it's a little bit more difficult to make these fine tweaks in recoil control to be super precise and super accurate. Whereas on keyboard and mouse, it's a little bit easier to control the fine tunes. Like recoil control is easier on K-band because it's easier to make those minute, super precise changes and adjustments as needed here, depending on your DPI and everything, versus controller, where just how it is with a joystick, it's a little bit more difficult to make those super precise changes unless you are like fine-tuning settings to a T, which just flat out most controller players are not going to be doing, right? So really interesting information here. This is something that, like I said, I was completely ignorant to entirely. When Jack started talking about how it was different per input, I was like, yeah, that's insane. Wanted to, you know, give my thoughts on this as well and give maybe some reasoning behind it and showcase it here on the second channel too. But hey, if you guys enjoyed the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. If you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Once again though, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.